Welcome to another episode of Tehachapi with your hosts, Key Budge and Corey Costello. Tehachapi is another way the city of Tehachapi shares information with our community.
Welcome to Tehachapi. Key Budge, Corey Costello here today. Corey, how are you?
I'm doing well, man. It's spring in Tehachapi. It's a pretty awesome time. I mean, even though we had a fairly dry year, it's great to see everything blooming, driving around, trees are green. It looks great.
It does. It does. This and fall, my two favorite times of the year. And I love as everything transitions from green and gets ready to transition to brown, on the hillsides. We experience the cold, the warmth, everything all on the same day. And it's just so nice.
The city looks great this time of year, so it's exciting to drive around and see it all.
Today, we're going to invite in a couple of folks from Kern County Public Works, and we're going to talk about our landfills and household hazardous waste events.
Awesome.
And we're really going to try and educate the public on what goes on, what they can accept, receive, and we'll really kind of get into the nuts and bolts of what goes on at our landfills.
Yeah, and this is just barely, scratching the surface. This is randomly just because of some staffing things. I was assigned our sort of liaison with our contract hauler Waste Management, who also deals with the County of Kern and the landfills, and it's a pretty complex world of landfills and recycling and waste. And so anyway, we're hopefully we'll get a little bit of clarity on it.
And I know the state of California is constantly kind of, I don't want to say moving the goalpost, but the new rules and regulations
change
keep
what
coming
can
down.
get recycled and
right.
what can't, and what becomes its own category. And you used to just show up to the landfill and back your truck up and drop everything in one spot. Now it's about 14 different stops along the way, sometimes depending on the size of the landfill and what you have in the back of your vehicle, because it all gets separated differently.
That's true. So we'll invite Chuck and Denise in just a moment. Mm-hmm. But here in Tehachapi, we've got some things that are happening. We've got our farmers market that's about to open.
Yeah,
that's just around the corner. We're literally just a few weeks away.
June 3rd, the first one.
And this is going to be an extended farmers market like we did last year and go through the end of September.
Yeah, capture some of the local folks, the local apples, pears, that sort of thing.
And Mariana Gutierrez at our front desk, she is our market manager, and she's still accepting people that want to participate.
Yeah, a few more. She's done a great job getting vendors, a lot of response, and so just trying to lock down a few more farms to get some folks here. But great produce vendors, other options are out there on the table. It's pretty cool.
And if you'd like more information on that, you can reach out to Mariana at 661-822-2200, extension 102.
Yeah.
And she'll be happy to give you all the information, send out forms, whatever it is that you need.
Yeah, and we'll get her on the show at some point. We've been trying to forever. She's tougher to book than the congressman.
She is a little tough.
Everything's going to come up when we had a chance to sit down with her podcast. Something's happened. So anyway, we'll get to her eventually.
Well, let's move our attention back to what we originally teased the audience with, and let's talk about what's going on at our landfills. And our landfills are managed and run by our Kern County Public Works, and we'd like to welcome in two representatives, Chuck McGee, the Public Works Manager. Chuck, welcome to Tehachapi.
Well, thank you very much. Glad to be here.
And we'd like to welcome in Denise Saucedo, Public Works Maintenance Superintendent. Denise, welcome to Tehachapi.
Thank you so much, Keith. Happy to join you today.
It's nice to have you both here and to let you know our topics as we talk about the landfill, what you can take, and our household hazardous. This came from our community. This topic was presented to us by a listener that said, I'd really like to know more about, what we're able to take, when we can take it, and kind of the ins and outs, do's and don'ts, and where they can go to get more information. And I know we put out and help push out the information for Kern County Public Works, but that's the reason why we're here today, because the public wants to know. Let's talk about the landfills and managing those landfills. Chuck, that's a big task.
There's a lot to it. And like you mentioned, it's more and more every day due to the state's input in regulations and changing the way they count things. But the whole point of the landfills is to provide a clean, safe place for the disposal of waste. That's the original intent. But over time, that's started to morph into something where it's, let's see how little we can put into it and how much we can keep out of it and recycle. So that's really the focus that's been out there for a few years. And over the next few years, I think we're going to see it double, if not do more. We've got new programs up there in the last year or two, way more than what's ever been up there before.
Yeah, the key term and what we hear all the time is diversion. That's basically stuff you keep out of the landfill, things that are recyclable and that kind of stuff. So that continues to be a focus from the state of California. But Chuck, I know, I mean, like we mentioned before, everything used to go in the landfill, but now it's landfill management is a thing. I mean, you all have it's not just a giant hole in the ground. You have a very complex set of landfills, and these things are designed, whether it's, methane gas, that kind of stuff, and figuring out how to divert that. But you guys have a pretty interesting design, and there's a lot of science that goes behind your landfills these days.
The current landfill design requirements are very, very close to what it used to be to have a hazardous waste site. And that's literally the case. They now have to, a new facility's got to have liners, leachate collection, gas collection, all types of monitoring around it. A number of different things that used to be just dig a hole and put dirt on it. Those days are long gone and will never be back. They're very expensive to build. They used to be very inexpensive to dig a hole and put trash in them, but the current operations and landfill costs are just astronomical compared to what they used to be. But that provides level of protection well above anything we used to have back in the 60s, 70s, that kind of thing.
I know part of this I've heard on side discussions about the life expectancy, and this extends the life of our landfills. Is that right, Chuck? I mean, are we getting more time out of our areas because we're being a little bit better stewards of what's going into our landfills?
Oh, it's massive. The diversion work is critical to keeping landfills open and in place. Literally, like the landfill that's up in Tehachapi originally was slated to close in 2004. So that was 17 years ago that it was expected that site would close. Well, some redesigns of the site, some changes in the way things were being diverted, some new programs to move material out of there. We currently, we've added 17 years now, and we believe we'll get another at least 3 or 4 out of the current facility before it starts to come close to its capacity.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
That's 2 decades because we've become a little bit more responsible in how we dispose of things. And as the constant change, as we talk about the state of California and the rules that come down, and that comes into play. And then I happen to live out in a community service district where we have a transfer station. And I know those have really come into play over the last couple of years, and that you guys have played a key role in making sure that it's not just a dump, because that's really what people were just throwing everything in there and walking away. And now but by changing the terms and helping the public understand, you're transferring, household trash, to these events and not throwing away other things. Is that kind of did I simplify it a little bit?
You did. And that's exactly what you're talking about. And people who have been out to the landfill, in the last year or two probably have looked at it, and maybe what's started to cause them to be a little more curious about it. The diversion area that's operated out there is probably as big, if not bigger, than where they used to go to dispose of the waste. Yeah. There's just piles after piles of stuff that have to be processed and sent for recycling. And it's easily a third of what comes into that landfill after all the community programs. So we're still getting a lot more out that show up there, but that'll hit 50% probably of the inbound waste coming in. And we're going to continue to work to get the total amount of inbound waste that's collected to be reduced through other programs that occur before it hits the trash can.
What's that sort of recycling stream like? So somebody brings, let's say, whether it is a television set or something that's going to go into one of those multiple diversion areas. What sort of happens to it then? What happens to it in Tehachapi, and where does it go from there?
If you're bringing it into the Tehachapi landfill, we've got a number of trucks, trailers, and piles set up. Televisions, electronics, all that sort of materials going into a separate truck that's sent down into the LA basin to be disassembled. They literally take those pieces apart because some of the metals and other things in that are worth a fortune. And the fact that we ever just threw them in the trash is just staggering to me because there's a lot of money involved with that program. And that includes the next programs for the appliances, scrap metal prices. While they've been higher, they're still very good. And to bury a refrigerator, which weighs about 200 and some pounds of metal, a lot of times is just nuts. There's no reason to do that. So that'll come down here in the Bakersfield to one of our metal recyclers who reclaim that. They remove all the hazardous materials from them, the mercury switches, if it has Freon in it, that sort of thing. And all of that used to just get thrown into the landfill, which makes no sense. But we've instituted new programs in Tehachapi for things we had not really been able to do before, such as mattresses. And the county is one of the largest mattress recyclers now in the state of California, which is stunning to us. But we approached 150,000 mattresses last year.
Wow.
And and if you think of the size of 150,000 mattresses going into a landfill, you can see why we're able to reduce the amount of landfill space we're taking and extend the life. Because those, while they're not as heavy as some items, they do take up a lot of room. And of course, you've got all the old programs from before, the tires, the grass, the wood, the brush, all that kind of thing is coming out as well. So those programs that we're talking about, we'll grind up the brush and the wood. We send the wood to a cogeneration plant, which is a different name for a biomass plant. The brush and other materials, the grasses, manures, are all going to a compost facility, one of the 3 or 4 that's open in the county right now. So all that material is getting used somewhere or being remade into another product.
And it's important too. You bring up, we go back to the mattress part real quick. I mean, it's great to hear those numbers because that means those mattresses are ending up in a recycling center and not on the side of a road or on a vacant piece of property. So being able to accept that material, because people wonder, I'm going to do this mattress. No one, you can't really sell it. So what do I do? And I'm just going to dump it on a county road somewhere. So it's great to hear that they're offered, you drop those off the landfill, but also the fact that people are doing it, which is a nice testament.
Yeah, really such a huge percentage of the people do it the right way. Mm-hmm. They do it the right way every time. It's that small percentage that, just don't really take the time to do it right, which makes everybody just kind of get a little irritated about it. Because on a residential person coming in with a mattress, there's no charge whatsoever. They just need to bring it in and drop it off. It's a real simple, easy thing to do. And we get, like I said, the vast majority do that. And of course, we wish we could get everybody to do it because it provides a good market for recycling. It does a lot of good for other things. And really, we don't need to see them on the side of the road.
My wife absolutely loves it when it's time to go to the landfill because she knows that we're getting rid of a lot of my crap,
right?
But for her, it's she goes back to being a little girl, and that would be something that her dad would take her, and she has good memories of that. But I tell you, when she and I have been here recently, we've made 3 or 4 trips over the last couple of months to the Tehachapi landfill. It's so organized now, and it's the organization and the efficiency seems to have really improved over the last year plus. It's noticeable on me from, Joe consumer side that I can come in very easy. They tell me, hey, you're going over to recycling with all this, and this other stuff is for the general landfill. And you roll in, and there's, we got rid of an old TV. We had some recycled metal, at another place, and then we had some wood. And it was incredibly easy in and out. Like I said, no cost. It was like, wow, that was so easy. I shouldn't be afraid to do my spring cleaning and load up the truck and trailer.
It really shouldn't be because we strive really hard to make it as simple, fast, and easy as possible so that more and more people will do it. And we get that a lot, that people who have not been there go for the first time and they're stunned. That's not what they expected at all. And we try to encourage them to utilize the programs and facilities that we have in place. And of course, we're always preaching and if you would just take the time to separate the materials, if you know the programs and separate the materials, makes it so much easier and so much faster. A separated material is an easy recycle. A bunch of commingled stuff broken up in the back of the truck is an impossibility. So if they know before they go, makes it simple.
With that separation, there's other things that we need to separate out too. And I want to bring Denise into this conversation because Denise, the household hazardous drop-off events that take place, and we get in Tehachapi, we get at least one the first Saturday of every month. And then every once in a while, you guys are able to give us an extra day. And I think from what I understand, our community does a very good job of attending and bringing in those items to properly dispose of household hazardous waste. Can you talk about the household hazardous waste portion of our landfill?
Absolutely, Key. We have been conducting these one-day collection events out in Tehachapi for maybe more than 10 years, 15 years at least. as the demand, continues to increase, we've increased our temporary collection events out there. So, first maybe we were going once a quarter, and then it was like, well, we need to probably go every other month. And then a few years ago, it was, we're going to go ahead and do this monthly because we continue to see the high participation rate, customers calling, they're inquiring, they're requesting that we have more events throughout the year. For about a year and a half now, we are now up to 16 events per year. So, we threw in about 4 more in the last year and a half. They continue to be successful. The community in Tehachapi seems like, you folks out there want to do the right thing. And like, Chuck mentioned, a majority of the people, when they go to the landfill, they do their best to separate the recyclable materials out. Well, we're also seeing that in Tehachapi as well. The residents, they want to dispose of the hazardous waste properly. That's what we're there for. We do our best to, we've even extended our hours. We used to pack up about noon, and now we're staying out there till about at least 1 o'clock in the afternoon. That's just to give residents a little bit more time to get out there on a Saturday morning. But we continue to see high participation numbers, good feedback from the residents there. Any other information that we can provide to the residents, we send out the flyers, we do some advertising out there. But any other information that we're willing to pass along to the residents, we're more than happy to do that.
Well, I know we've got 2 household hazard events coming up here before the end of the fiscal year, which is the end of June. So we've got May 29th, a Saturday from 9 to 1. And then the following Saturday, June 5th, also from 9 to 1 right here at the Tehachapi Landfill. So those are 2 opportunities coming up that you can get. And let's talk about some of the items that people should make note and bring, because I know that, like, paint.
Yep.
That's my number one thing that I look in my garage and it's like, gosh, I haven't used that in 7 years.
Yeah, you keep that color. You're thinking when you painted something, right, you bought an entire gallon, you only use half, and you put it away in case you needed it. Right. And then 7 years later, you said, I'm not going to paint anything eggshell anytime soon. Right. I should get rid of this paint. It's in the way. I'm in the same boat.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. Some of the things that people should maybe look in their garage and identify, and this is the right place to go and take it.
Well, sure. First of all, I just want to mention that, as Chuck mentioned, Kern County Public Works, we've continued to expand our services to the communities. We actually do take paint products up there anytime the landfill is open.
Oh, nice.
So that would be Chuck's area, the diversion area. They take your paint products, your latex paint, fence paint, oil-based paint, that type of thing. They also accept batteries up there anytime the landfill is open, like your household, remote control batteries, automotive batteries, cell phone batteries, that type of thing. Your motor oil, if the, DIYers out there that still change their own motor oil. What else is there, Chuck? Are we taking the antifreeze up there as well?
We haven't got the tank for the antifreeze yet, but those other items are doing very well. Adding that paint to the normal daily collection was a big deal. It's just one of the most common hazardous materials that people need to get rid of. So we were able to put that program in up there you can drop it off anytime we're open in that diversion area. And we've seen tremendous response to that just because, like you said, it's in the garage. It's been in the garage for 10 years. I'm going anyway. So now's the chance to get rid of it. It's been convenient, and it's been pretty successful.
And when you say diversion area, that's what I know is the recycle area?
Same
right?
thing, exactly.
Okay.
I think that's what they call it up there, the recycle area.
Yeah, that's what the sign says. So that's okay. So that's good to know.
Back to like I said, back to that buzzword, right? Diversion. So that's what it's all about. We're trying to divert things out of the landfill. So that's why you hear that diversion term thrown around a lot.
Okay, good.
Yeah, and that's an interchangeable word. Feel free. Both of them mean the same thing.
Okay. Well, for me, that's a big deal. Because I would always we'd put the paint, we'd stack it. Okay, when's the next event? First Saturday, I always, in my mind, because since I put out all the information, I know first Saturday of the month is the Tehachapi dates. And then my wife and I would load stuff up and go. Now, boy, she'll be happy. Any day that the landfill is open is an open day to get rid of some of this.
Same category for me. I've been like thinking to myself, I got to get that paint, gotta go. I'll do it the next household hazardous and I forget or something happens. But now next trip to the landfill, I know what to do.
Denise, we go back to some of the items that are acceptable, and sharps are one of those. And that's nice to see that's a big deal, because there are a lot of syringes and different, blades and different things that get disposed of and don't get disposed of properly. But this is an opportunity for people to bring in sharps and other items.
That's correct. We get a lot of people, that for residential use, they do the home injections. We see a lot of what we get typically here at the facility too, here in Bakersfield and at the outlying areas, is just, high diabetic population. And so we get a lot of people that bring in those containers to us with their sharps. And then we also provide the containers too, Keith. So I didn't know if that's something that you were aware of, but
No.
even when we oversee these one-day collection events, Tehachapi included, we make sure that we take plenty of the containers and that we're providing a container to the residents as well.
Well, that's good, because when the police department has the prescription take back days, they usually cannot accept sharps. And that's always a question that comes up is, I've got this medical syringes. How can I get rid of those? So this is a great understanding that you can get rid of them every month only at the household hazardous event days, or is that a part of in the diversion area, the recycle area, that they can do that any day?
That would be only the household hazardous waste days.
Okay, good.
So they can take that, and they can also take back their pharmaceuticals as well. So any kind of old pills and stuff like that, over-the-counter medications that they no longer have use for, expired prescription medications, they can bring those at the household hazardous waste event days as well.
Wow,
Cool.
I'm learning more
Getting
and
better
more.
and better.
Yeah, it is.
My house is getting cleaner and
Yeah,
cleaner.
old pesticides. We get a lot of, just like right now, I think my husband has quite a bit of pesticides that are probably outdated sitting in his shed in the backyard that he probably needs to bring in as well. But we take, old Roundup, weed killer, diazinon, some of those things that have been banned for quite a while, or you no longer have need of. You can bring those in as well. Fluorescent light bulbs, even the CFLs, the smaller ones, the compact fluorescent light bulbs, we take those. Take your old pool chemicals. And I think we had a question actually not too long ago from a Tehachapi resident inquiring about photochemicals, because it was something that, they had photography was a hobby for them for many years. And then they kind of were moving on to other hobbies and no longer had need for all these photochemicals. And they called and were, inquiring, can we get rid of, I've got a few bottles of some old photochemicals lying around. We said, absolutely, you can bring that in to the household hazardous waste event day.
And then compressed gas as well, as those computer compressed gas canisters that you can use. You guys accept those?
Like you mean like your camping propane bottles, that kind of thing, or barbecue style?
Yeah, that, and also I was thinking about the handhold, like the compressed gas where your
Keyboard cleaner
keyboard
things,
cleaners,
yeah.
those kinds of things.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
What's been this is just as you brought up the photochemicals, what has been, whether the weirdest thing you've heard that someone's brought to Household Hazardous, or one you had to say, let me check on that? Has there been one or two out there that you said, okay, this is one I'm going to remember?
We have quite a handful of, this is one I'm going to remember. We have had some, one that sticks to mind is we do have a permanent facility in Mojave that we're open out there 6 times a year for residents. But we did have somebody, passed away, family member, and they brought in some old boxes and even tackle boxes of some chemicals. And they said, everything, boxes looked okay, no big deal, just old lab chemicals, that kind of a thing. But once we started to open up the layers of the tackle boxes and remove the inserts with the little cabinets there, it was like a, oh my goodness moment, because at that point we noticed that there was bottles that were crystallized. And when you see stuff like that, tend to be unstable. Maybe you're going to get some shock sensitive type of material. So we did end up having to call, the bomb squad made its way out, and they ended up having to blow up actually those. We had to shut the facility down and then blow up the boxes of chemicals. So we do get some stuff like that every now and again.
As soon as you said, when you open it up and then you start to see the crystallize, I go, okay, bomb team's coming.
Yep.
Bomb team's rolling on this thing. Yeah. I'm a retired cop, so I visualize that as you were saying it. I go, okay, yep, seen that before. There are some crazy things in people's garages that you go, okay, I don't even know if I want to ask why.
Yeah.
So
Right.
Now,
And I think the bomb squad, I think they like having a little adventure.
Oh, they do.
You know, not too often, but maybe once every couple of years.
Yeah, when it ends on those kind of notes, they absolutely get the it's a fun little joyride for them to go out and blow something up.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you about the difference between business and household, because I know there's probably there's an area there because we have a lot of home-based businesses, but maybe things that people use in their business life don't fit into this criteria. So can we talk maybe a little bit about the things that, maybe we should not bring?
Sure, we could do that. So the deal with that, Key, and I think sometimes people get a little bit, confused and they don't understand kind of why we have to set up the way we do. So residents are not charged when they bring their hazardous waste to us because part of the land use fee tax does fund this program. So they're allowed to bring it, what they deem as of no charge. But although we know that part of our taxes have already been paid for to fund the program, businesses only pay on an as needed basis. So if they choose to utilize our program, then they would go ahead and pay a fee. A lot of businesses have environmental companies that'll come out and do the pickups for them, or they're just small mom and pop offices that, don't generate hazardous waste per se, if you're not counting a couple of batteries, that kind of a thing. So for these one-day collection events, they're specifically designed for the households, for the residents and household type waste. So if we do have a business that is interested in proper hazardous waste disposal, we would encourage them to call the hazardous waste facility, 661-862-8922, and they can speak with, my staff, and they can set up an appointment, and we can get a little more information as to what they have. The cost for disposal, I will let you know that it's pretty inexpensive compared to environmental companies. It's not for us to make any kind of money, obviously. We're a government entity, but it's just for us to cover the processing and disposal fees for the hazardous waste in and of itself.
Let me ask, because I've seen this question on our community Facebook and Nextdoor social media apps. So this is one I can kind of bring from the audience, but I've got a personal interest in the answer. Our treated woods, like when we're talking about fences up here, we've got just miles and miles of treated fence posts and rails. Mm-hmm. And then there's the conversation is, where can I take it? Sometimes, we can take it to the landfills. No, it has to go out to a special location now with these rules that are coming down from the state. So where are we with treated fencing materials or treated woods?
Currently, you can take those down to the Bena landfill. That is the only landfill in Kern County that's currently got a permit to accept them for disposal. We're working to get it where we can take small, very small quantities at other locations and transfer them down there. But that's a hugely expensive program because not only do we have to take it in, that's a charge for that material because it's a construction material, but then we have the cost of loading it, shipping it down there, unloading it, and bringing the containers back. So for Tehachapi, if you're headed down into Bakersfield for any reason and you need to get rid of treated lumber, that would be the time. You're going to go right past the Bena landfill, and that is one site that you can still bring it to. As a matter of fact, it's the only site in Kern County that can accept it for disposal right now.
So as my rotted out 20-year-old post and rail fence that's treated lumber, I'm going to have to make sure that I properly dispose of it and take it to Bena. That's okay.
You can, we might be able to take it up somewhere else, but the cost would be 3 times the amount. So it's well worth taking it down there, saving money.
You're right. Tie it in with a trip.
And whatever you do, people, do not burn it as firewood. Do not burn it. Even outside in a campfire, do not burn it. Don't take it to the desert as a bonfire. Don't burn that stuff. Yeah. Bad news.
Yeah, there's got to be a story behind that.
Yeah, there's plenty.
Yeah, maybe we'll bring on Kern County Fire Department. They can talk about some of those chemical fires that they have to deal with.
Right.
What are some of the frequently asked questions that you guys get in your offices that maybe we haven't talked about yet? Because I know there's got to be some. Like I talked about, the fencing was hyper local, and I see it quite often. But I bet you guys get some interesting calls that seem like day to day. You guys are like, yeah, we just deal with it, but maybe the public isn't aware of it.
We get different calls for different things. Most of it is, I'd say the majority is, do you take this? And it's normal things like, can you take a refrigerator? Can you take things that they've never had to get taken away from their house before? So that's a pretty common call. That treated lumber over the last 6 months has been a massive number of calls because of that change from Sacramento. But as things settle down, it's a lot of times just, can you take this? Or the other question that I really like to hear, and I don't always like my answer, but it's like, do you have recycling programs for this, that, or the other thing? And with the changes in the recycling markets and things like that, the common recycles that people are so used to, their milk jugs and things like that, they're stunned when they show up at Tehachapi and we don't have a program for milk jugs or something like that. And it's basically because there's absolutely nothing currently open for us to do with them. So they want to see those programs come back. And that's a lot of the calls we get nowadays have to do with that as well. Like, where is the glass recycling program? Where is plastics and that kind of thing? Ever since the China sword came through and really shut down most of the consumer recyclable programs, that's been a big issue for people who are conscious about that type of thing.
Denise, how about in your office in the household hazardous area? Do you get a question from the public that maybe we haven't addressed yet?
A lot of people call Key about what we call our Stop and Shop program, which is our reuse material program. And that's specific to the Bakersfield location, which is our main hub where a majority of the hazardous waste actually comes in from. So, Chuck talked about, what do you do with a majority of we think of it as just all being buried into a hole when you go out to the landfill. But as we know, things have evolved and changed, and a lot of it, the materials recycled. It's the same in the hazardous waste world. So first and foremost, what we try to do is a lot of the old pesticide, automotive products, your typical bathroom cleaners, kitchen cleaners, that kind of thing, can actually be reused. So we get a lot of product in where people just no longer have a use for. They're moving. Somebody passed away. They're cleaning out grandpa's or grandma's kitchen, grandpa's garage, or something like that. So they bring this stuff into us. And if we deem it to be a product that can be reused, we have a program here in Bakersfield. And we actually are able to reuse about, I think it's up to 20% of the material that we get in. So first and foremost, that's what we do. And then from there, we go ahead and if this item cannot be reused, then recycling is our next option. And we recycle up to about maybe 50, 60% of the material from there.
You brought up something, you said the Bakersfield location. That's a great point because we have these events here in Tehachapi the Monday after your Saturday event, and I've got a trailer full of stuff ready to go. Bakersfield, you have a location there. Can you give that address and maybe the days that it's open to the public to bring down household hazardous items? Because I know I have done that in the past.
Sure. Our Bakersfield location is open Wednesday through Saturday, 8 to 4, and we're located at 4951 Standard Street, which is off of Buck Owens and Gilmore, are the main cross streets there. So this is our busiest location. I'm located here in Bakersfield. We also have a permanent facility in Mojave at 17035 Savovich Street, and we're open there 6 times a year for the public.
The website that kernpublicworks.com, you've got great information, and basically everything that we've talked about is available there. So if anyone wants to hit some of these points that we've talked about or dig a little deeper into some of the items, and on the hazardous side, it's kernpublicworks.com/hazardous-waste-guide to go to the page to get a list of all of the different items. And then we can get all the information on our landfills right there at kernpublicworks.com. So you guys have all the resources available. We're putting things out on social media to help inform the public. Is there anything here in closing, Denise, that you'd think that we should throw out that we haven't hit on yet?
No, I think if anybody has any questions, they can call the 661-862-8922 if they have any questions. And that's what we get a lot of. Key, we get just a lot of questions when the event's closer to the event day, just to make sure that, we just want to make sure you take our old expired medications, or we have some sharps. We heard that you can take it, and that you guys have a swap program where we can take our full container, we can get a new one, and I have this old pesticides that are now banned? Is that something that you guys can accept? And we do accept those type of materials. So if anybody has something that they can consider unusual, unique, they can always call and just verify and make sure that we do accept it.
Great. Outstanding. And Chuck, in closing, anything that maybe we didn't talk about, but you want to send that info out to make sure the public understands?
Quick message is when we talked about taking paint and batteries and oils in the diversion area, the recycling area, I want to really make sure everybody understands if you've got batteries, no matter what they're coming out of, take them into that area. One of the things a lot of people don't understand is a lithium battery is a small bomb waiting to go off in the landfill. You drive a 90,000 pound piece of equipment over that battery, it's going to damage it, and it's going to start to leak. And about 2 o'clock in the morning, we're going to have a nice big landfill fire if you throw it away. So we really stress, if you've got batteries, take them to the recycle area. Just don't throw them away. They really cause a problem out there. So the more of them we can get out of the waste stream, the better. We've had numerous landfill fires caused by these things, and we just need to, it's a simple thing to do. We just need everybody to do it.
Well, great. That's a great point, because it's always the ripple effect that has sometimes the greatest impact on events, and reason why we change our rules. So, great point there. Just want to say thank you guys both very much, Chuck, Denise. We appreciate your time, and I think the public is going to take away. I learned a lot, today, and I know Corey, you mentioned too. It's like, hey, I didn't know that either. So we appreciate the time and sharing this information. And as a side note, we had Allie Triolo on the other day, who is your chief communication officer of Kern County. And she absolutely just went on and on about how much she loved her day.
It was her favorite day. Yeah. Her favorite day at the landfill. Yeah.
So you could.
It's exciting, that's for sure.
Great day at the landfill. There's nothing better. I suggest everybody.
You just gotta tease her every time. Your favorite department, Allie.
That's right.
It's right here. Right. It's Public Works. Yeah. Come on down to the landfill.
Who doesn't love trash? That's what I always say.
That's right.
I've been here 17 years, and it's because I love trash. It's exciting. You never know what's gonna come into the landfill or the hazardous waste facility.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, thank you both for joining us here on Tehachapi. We appreciate the time, and we'll put this information out and keep working with you guys as partners. And we just appreciate everything that you're doing for us.
Well, thank you for having us.
Thanks, guys.
Yes, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Thanks for the invitation. Thanks for the free advertisement for Kern County Public Works.
Corey, that is Kern County Public Works, our landfills, and our household hazardous waste drop-off events in one show.
Yeah, that's a lot. And it's crazy. I mean, when I kind of took over this sort of trash responsibilities, I was shocked how in depth it really was. And the landfills, for me, I mean, a lot of that ends at the landfill, right? Because it goes through the city's waste stream, it goes through waste management takes it to the landfill, and then Kern County Public Works kind of takes responsibility at that point and goes where it needs to go. But it's amazing how many different programs and I know that they brought up the recycling challenges with SWORD, and that was a Chinese policy where the United States was shipping a lot of recyclables and a lot of bad recyclables to China. They were dirty. They had been sort of compromised in the waste stream. They were mixed with trash in a lot of cases, and China actually said, enough, we're not taking it. And so now you've got this market where it's like, what do I do? That's why he said there's no milk jug recycling, because it's not a recyclable plastic technically, because China's not taking it anymore. So what do we do with, so anyway, there's a lot of challenges that are out there. There are international global challenges that affect your local market. That's why you saw some private things like Replanet. Used to have a little recycling center in Albertsons. It's gone. Those closed statewide because of the recycling market dried up. And so consumer recycling actually went down. So it's important, as you pointed out, to really separate those things in the waste stream, and then you can recycle a little bit easier.
Now, do we have anything that, as far as our local residents, that we didn't talk about, perhaps that they need to know about, their services or?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is not contaminating your say, for example, your recycling bin that you have from waste management or whatever your hauler may be if you're in the unincorporated areas. Pay attention to that stuff and actually don't just throw a few things of trash in there, because that can damage, so to speak, the cardboard, and it's no longer recyclable. So pay attention to those things for sure. And then I would honestly say, and as Chuck kind of pointed out, they take almost everything in the landfill. So don't just think, oh, I can't take this. Or either call and check, or you go to the gate, let them know, hey, I got this. They say, okay, that's fine. Go to that diversion area, go to that diversion area. You may make 3 stops before you get to the actual, dump portion where you're just throwing away garbage, but they take almost everything, and it's actually pretty much for the most part no charge to you. There's occasionally for a special thing there will be, but it's very rare.
Well, and I can say my recent experiences going into that recycle diversion area, they've got staff there and they were helping me unload.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was quick.
Yeah.
So I pulled up and he's pulling, this is recycled metal, boom, over here. Yeah, take that wood over to that pile over there. The TV goes wrap around this corner, and that's where there's a big box for TVs. I was like, wow, that was efficient, smooth. We were in and out in minutes.
Yeah.
It was just that easy and no cost, which was nice. So we've got 2 household hazardous waste days coming up. That's going to be Saturday, May 29th, which is from 9 to 1. And that's out at the Tehachapi Landfill at 12001 East Tehachapi Boulevard. And then the first Saturday of every month is our earmarked day, our normal day. So June 5th will be the next one. And that, all those items you can find on kernpublicworks.com if you want to know if you've got an item that fits in the category for household waste. And the fact that they take a lot of these household items like paint on a daily basis that's huge.
Yeah, no, that's been my holdup at home, so I'm going to be able to clean some of that.
There you go. All right, Melissa's listening.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep, Corey's got a job this weekend
for sure.
And then we've got some things here at the city we want to talk about too. We've got the Adopt a Flag program that launches here Memorial Day, where people, whether you're a business or you're an organization, a family, you've got a loved one that you want to honor, you can do that by adopting a flag, a U.S. flag that we have on our poles.
Yeah, and you get a decal put on that downtown light pole with your name or business name on it, and it becomes a. And then when we switch out the flag and put the Christmas decoration up, your name stays on there too. So a good opportunity to help support this program and keep those flags going up. We try to give them right around Memorial Day, and they'll run all the way through. Usually Veterans Day, and then we put up the Christmas snowflakes for the holiday season. And
so you can either do just the flag program or you can do the Adopt a Pole, which you get both. So it's only $50 to adopt the flag. I think it's $125 if you want to have basically almost a year-round sponsorship of that pole. So that's something to think about. And you can notify Grace Delgado here at Tehachapi City Hall. You can give her a call at 661-822-2200. extension 103, and Grace will be happy to help you out. And then also on our website, we'll have the forms available to download, and you can just send it right into Grace if you'd like to do that. And then, it'd be nice to talk about something special that occurred to us this week, but our co-host, I think he went big time. Is he big timing us right now?
I think so. I think the award's gone to his head already.
Tehachapod was honored with 2 podcasting awards from the Academy of Interactive and Visual Arts. We're very proud of that, that we were recognized.
We'd like to thank the Academy.
Yes, exactly. We'll have our speeches ready. But Greg didn't make it to today where we were going to talk about it, so I think he big timed us.
Yeah, the trophy got to his head already.
Is that what?
Yeah.
So Greg will be listening to this and say, okay, I'm going to get even with those guys. I'm going to get even. But it is, it's just been an honor to do this over the last year plus, Corey working with you and Greg and getting to have, these are the conversations we have on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And then the concept to let's record these because the public wants to hear a lot of these things that we talk about and how we share information and we learn from each other and then make, informed decisions.
Yeah. And if you, a lot of what I think a lot of folks in this line of work think about, they go, man, if the public could only understand what I'm having to deal with, right? It's not as simple sometimes as you make it sound like to be in the barbershop. So, if they could only hear what's really behind the scenes. Today's conversation was a perfect example. It's not just the garbage goes to the dump. It is the state saying, okay, well, this has to go here. This can't go here. And so there's other regulations. And when you violate those, they're very expensive. And so you don't want to do that. But this is kind of the point, is to have that conversation and just, and because you can't do it necessarily in a press release. You can't do it just on a quick interview on the news. This is an opportunity to really go deep in those different sections in those conversations.
And our podcast is based on getting information to the community. And this podcast today was based on feedback from the community asking specifically about these topics.
Yeah.
And so, that's a big deal. We're listening and we want to provide you with that information. So we encourage you to send us an email with your thoughts and show ideas, and we will find the experts like we did today to talk about those topics. Just send us an email at media@tehachapicityhall.com, and that will that's how we push the show forward and grow. So we appreciate your time, the fact that you follow us, you listen, you give us the feedback, and we're very proud. This is for me, we always talk about these awards. They're team awards. I mean, it's not just you, Greg, and I. It's everyone else here at the city that puts in this effort, and then also our community that gives us the feedback and participates in these things that we talk about. So
we got the Distinction Award for Government Podcast, and then I think the big one that we're all really especially proud of was last year's Salute to Freedom July 4th episode, and that was a huge effort. I mean, that was not only the three of us that are here, and then your editing behind the scenes, but then also we had Congressman McCarthy and Senator Shannon Grove and Assemblyman Vince Fong and friends and family of media members that sent in the shout outs, and they read some and either over the phone or we read some for them, and we had our own. And so it was cool. We had, of course, Brigadier General Matthew Heiger from Edwards Air Force Base. And then we read the Declaration of Independence in its entirety as well. And so that was a really cool show. And I think to have that honored for Best Special Episode was really cool.
it was. And I looked, and it's been downloaded again today.
Nice.
So, I mean, that's one of those things where these podcasts live on.
Yeah.
And that's another one of the reasons that makes me proud, is that when we look at the content, that people are constantly downloading it. So, we appreciate you taking the time to listen and follow us. Tell a friend. Mm-hmm. We'd love that. And again, send us your feedback, media@tehachapicityhall.com. Corey, thanks for joining me today.
All right. Yeah, no problem. Happy to do it, and looking forward to the next one.
Okay, folks, we'll catch you on a future episode of Tehachapi.
Tehachapi is a conversation about Tehachapi designed for the people who live here or who would like to know more about this mountaintop community. If you have a question you would like answered, email media@tehachapicityhall.com. We will try to answer it on a future episode of Tehachapi.